Good morning, everybody. It's actually nice to be here today. As far as doing some quick introductions, I have to start by saying thank you to the big guy for inviting us. It's always nice when we can meet with the producer community and the big guy. I had some prepared comments, but I'll kind of ease into those right now, which is the producers are kind of the backbone, if you will, of the insurance industry here in the state of New Hampshire. There's roughly 250,000 licensed agents, and without question, this is what drives the insurance industry in New Hampshire. We can't thank you enough for being part of that, and being part of the big eye certainly lends some credibility to all that you do. So thank you very much. On behalf of the Insurance Department, Commissioner Betancourt, I'm thrilled to be here today. Thank you, AJ. All right, so my kids tell me I shouldn't tell jokes, but I'm going to tell one anyway. And my colleagues at the Insurance Department have heard these before at our staff meetings. But what's worse than a dad joke is a dad joke that involves insurance. So here goes. An insurance producer who's having a really hectic week decides that he's going to go to a museum and kind of relax a little bit. So he takes some time off, goes to the museum, and he's walking through the exhibit hall. And he's in this hall with a lot of structures, there's paintings, and there's this beautiful statue that he's looking at. And all of a sudden, his phone rings, as insurance producers' phones are apt to do. So he picks up the phone, he starts talking, and mistakenly backs up and he knocks this statue over. And you hear this kind of, gasp in the exhibit hall. The three guards who are standing around start looking at him, and he's mortified. Oh my God, what's going to happen? And then the curator comes running into the exhibit hall and says, "Oh my God, I can't believe you just knocked over this 600-year-old statue." And the producer says, "Thank God, I thought it was new." So anyway, I challenge you to all go find some insurance jokes. That's about as best as they get right there. All right, so here today, I'm here with my colleagues, Emily Doherty, Christian Citarella, Josh Hilliard, and AJ Kierstead. James Fox will be joining us a little bit later. You're going to hear from different parts of what the Insurance Department does to regulate the industry. My role is to kind of kick it off here, give you an overview of what the department does, and then kind of ease it over to Josh, and he's going to kind of round out this first hour what the fraud unit does and the market conduct unit does. So to start off, the Insurance Department's mission, I'm going to read it to you. I should have it memorized. Promote and protect the public good by ensuring the existence of a safe and competitive insurance marketplace through the development and enforcement of the insurance laws of the state of New Hampshire. We are committed to doing so in an honest, effective, and timely manner. We take our consumer protection mission incredibly seriously at the department, and everything that we do involves and revolves around consumer protection. Probably the part I'm going to talk about most is going to be consumer services, but I want to kind of talk about how the department is structured, which is the consumer protection aspect of regulation is kind of, I always think of it as a stool. And the seat of that stool is the Financial Regulation Unit. And the Financial Regulation Unit consists primarily of market conduct examiners and financial regulation analysts. And their sole job is to look at the assets and liabilities of insurance companies to make sure that those companies remain financially solvent so that when claims are submitted, claims are available to be paid, or monies are available to be paid, Fundamentally, the most important thing that we do at the Insurance Department is that financial underpinning piece. After that, you start looking at the three legs of this stool, and I think of them as the pre-issue components of insurance, the actual components of what we deal with while an insured has a policy, and then kind of the back-end piece, which is the market conduct unit, which is really not necessarily what comes after a person owns a policy, but while the person owns a policy, really everything kind of post-issue. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that. Relative to the three legs of the stool, let's start off with the compliance unit, which is the team, and we're bifurcated in the Insurance Department to silos, if you will, product silos, the P&C division and the life and health division. So as I talk about these three units, again, compliance, consumer services, and market conduct, we have two separate divisions doing the same types of work. The compliance team is responsible for looking at every contract and every form that's used in the course of administering, in selling a policy, as well as new issue business, applications, suitability forms if you're working in the annuity world. in the actual policy language itself. Every document is reviewed by the department to make sure it complies with our statutes and rules. It's a very important job. Frankly, I'll be honest with you, it's a job that I haven't had at the department. I don't want it at the department. It's intensive reading documents all day long. It would put me to sleep. God bless those who do it. Utmost respect for them. On the back end, we have the market conduct unit. I'm going to leave that for Josh Hilliard to speak about when he speaks. But I want to talk about our consumer services division, which is really the ears and eyes of the insurance department into the world of what's going on. Our consumer services unit consists of 7 individuals. There's a director and a manager and 1 workflow coordinator who kind of works as an administrator for all things in the consumer world. And we have, if I did my math correctly, we have 4 dedicated consumer services officers who have varying levels of expertise in property and casualty lines and life and health lines. Currently, we have 2 individuals who spent most of their careers working in the PC divisions, one at an agency level and one in back office operations with one of our carriers here in New Hampshire. And on the life and health side, we have an individual who comes to us from Delaware who has, I believe, 20 years experience working in the health side, and the other individual came to us recently from Anthem. So right now within the consumer services division, we have approximately 150 to 175 years of insurance experience within those 7 individuals. And I mention that because the first thing you do when you come to the insurance department is you give up your insurance licenses because we can't hold them anymore. But we do have a lot of expertise in those fields. The consumer division handles approximately 6,000 cases per year, and we define case fairly loosely as any contact with a consumer, and a consumer in this case is really any customer of insurance. It could be somebody who is purchasing insurance, it could be someone who has a post-issue inquiry about a product or it could be a claim process. It could also be an attorney at an insurance company who has a question about our statutes. It could be a company professional who has an inquiry. Any customer, anybody who's, let me throw out there, it could be a provider in the insurance world, whether it be an auto body shop that's repairing an automobile or a medical provider, a doctor or an ambulance. Anybody interacting in the insurance world that contacts us, we define as a customer. So we take about 6,000 cases per year, most of which, probably 5,000 or so, deal primarily with front-end consumers who have a question, an inquiry. It might be a product question, geez, my brother-in-law told me I should buy an annuity contract. What should I look for? Somebody who may have just a generic question about how to purchase health insurance. Any sort of easily answered question typically comes to in the form of a phone call or an email. We get rid of those pretty quickly. Beyond that, we take approximately 1,000 formal written grievances, which are complaints about one of our licensees at the department. Those complaints are really kind of the bread and butter of what we do in the division. And notably, the having mentioned the consumer protection mission of the insurance department, the specific mission of the consumer division is threefold, which is educate, navigate, and investigate. Help educate insurance customers about the marketplace, help navigate complexities of insurance, and that investigative function is what we're talking about here relative to consumer complaint issues. Those complaints look and smell a lot like, the number one complaint category is automobile complaints. It's an individual whose car has been in an accident and perhaps he or she's not being offered enough to repair the vehicle, or it's been a total loss and not being paid enough. We get involved in those types of complaints. Our laws and rules require that our licensees respond to us within 10 business days. So we actually reach out, contact our licensees, receive a formal response, and we're looking for violations of law or rule. That's an example of an automobile complaint. We're going to come back to kind of the restitution remediation piece. By example, the type of complaints we typically see on the health insurance side are individuals who have denied claims or denied pre-authorization requests. Think of a treatment that you've had, and probably the most heartbreaking types of cases that we get involved in, and an individual who is experiencing some sort of medical trauma who needs a treatment. And it's far too often we deal with individuals who are being denied certain types of cancer treatment. So we will get involved when a person's been denied treatment because the insurance company doesn't feel as though the recommended treatment by the treating physician is medically necessary. There are step-up requirements. There are various things that the insurance company thinks the treating physician and the insured need to undertake first before going to that last level of treatment. We get involved handling those complaints, where we'll contact the insurance company, make sure that the company's following its policies and procedures and all the insurance laws to make sure that that person's receiving the benefit of his or her policy, but in most cases to make sure the treatments are being, hopefully facilitating that type of treatment. So really any sort of written grievance about one of our licensees is what we get involved in. And last year alone, out of those 1,200 cases that we handled, there was about $6.5 million of restitution for New Hampshire's insurance consumers. And we take great pride in that number because this is money that New Hampshire's residents wouldn't have received without our assistance. We like to add value to that. And on any given day in the consumer division, when things get stressful, at work as they're apt to be, we can always fall back in the consumer division and say, hey, we're making a difference in people's lives. So it's a part of the division part of the department I like to promote. It is kind of, again, the eyes and the ears, but it's also the most visible publicly with what we do, making a difference in people's lives. One of the biggest differences between our consumer services division and our fraud unit, another aspect of consumer protection, is that the consumer services division is primarily investigating aspects of administrative law, contract law, whereas our fraud division is investigating allegations of fraud being committed against insurance companies. It's criminal in nature. The staff that we have on hand has a criminal justice background. Right now, we would have some open positions here pretty soon if you want to investigate criminal stuff. Right now, we have one investigator, and he's been with the department for about 20 years. And prior to that, the other two individuals who have left the department recently had similar types of experience. But they're investigating criminal violations. That unit last year had over 400 referrals, investigated 35 of those referrals, leading to 19 prosecutions and returning $1.6 million again for those individuals involved. So at a very broad level, insurance department here to ensure the consumer protection aspects of the insurance industry. I'm going to mention one more thing before we transition over to Josh, which is it's kind of missed at the department. I'm sorry, I'm going to rewind here for a second. I started off by saying we've developed a relationship with the big I at the department. It's a relationship that we value. It is incredibly important for us when we take calls in the consumer division. We don't actually provide the names of agents or the names of companies for consumers to contact. What we always do is we reach out to the big I in a referral process. So it's nice to have these touch points with you here today, because when we do get these phone calls, we refer them to the big I and Joan for those placements. If there's one takeaway from your time here today, I would hope that you would remember that the insurance department is here not only to support those insurance customers, but you as agents. Far too often we find, and it's usually through Joan who's reaching out to ask me a question, you as agents have appointments with insurance companies. Sometimes you feel that push and pull between being loyal to your customer and being loyal to those that you write for. If you ever find yourself in a situation, please reach out to us. We're not adversaries. We're here to collaborate with you. Reach out to us, and many times those questions, those difficult questions that you want to present to your carriers, we can ask on your behalf anonymously, through a consumer issue. So please don't think of us as adversaries at the insurance department. Think of us as collaborative colleagues. We just happen to carry a hammer every now and then. On that note, I've gone over my 20 minutes. I'm going to transition to Josh, and if you have any questions, we'll take that up at the end of the hour.